Hi everyone, it's Diane Brennan. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about eating an anti-inflammatory diet and why that is so important. And here's what most people don't realize. The root cause of every single disease, whether it is asthma, heart disease, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, ADD, ADHD, schizophrenia, all mental disorders, bipolar, all of that is inflammation. Every single bit of every single disease is caused by inflammation. Now, I've heard people say that it is irresponsible to say that there is one diet that is a cure-all for all of those things. But I'm going to tell you there is. And the reason is because it's the only completely anti-inflammatory diet in the world. Now, what about taking anti-inflammatories? What about taking herbs for anti-inflammatory? I'm going to tell you, I've done all that. Okay? I drank turmeric and ginger tea with black pepper, which is an anti-inflammatory combination, for years, and I still had a moon face because that moon face was inflammation. That inflammation raises cortisol levels, throws your estrogen and insulin and everything, all of your hormones out of whack, because you have a master hormone called leptin. And if your leptin is out of whack, all of your other hormones are also out of whack, your adrenaline, etc. So adrenal disorders, everything, all comes from this inflammation, because it just depends on where your body gets attacked, basically, by the inflammation. And that is always individual. How your body reacts to that inflammation, you and I aren't going to react the same way to it. But I'm going to tell you, I had fibromyalgia. And that was proven because I had chronic myofascial pain syndrome. Now, you can have fibromyalgia without having chronic myofascial pain syndrome. But you cannot have chronic myofascial pain syndrome without having fibromyalgia. So I was diagnosed with the fibro when they diagnosed the chronic myofascial pain. And so I had multiple pain points. I had pain and stiffness that went from here, radiated down to here. This whole side of me would just be in pain. It was tense. It was stiff and sore all the time. And I got rid of all of that, plus started to get rid of insulin resistance when I went paleo. Okay? Now, I am going to say everybody may not need to be full lion diet like I am. Okay? Michaela Peterson herself, who started the Lion Diet, said this wasn't something she intended to be on for life. And she's working now, after years of being that way, to incorporate other foods back into her diet and eat a more normal diet. Personally, I don't understand that, because I know now from almost 20 years of research that all of those foods are poison. I mean, I listened to a woman who is currently getting her PhD. She has a master's degree in plant medicine, herbal, she got a master's degree in herbal medicine. And what she learned about plants made her stop eating them, because she realized that all of those nutrients in plants are nutrients if you're a pollinator, but not if you're a human being or anything else trying to eat the plants. It's just like herbivores can tolerate that poison because their stomach pH is way down at like a 6.5 on the pH scale. So they process those things and it passes through and they don't have it absorbed into their bloodstream. With us up at a pH of 1.5, putting us in the carnivore pH, our digestive system does not process the plants well enough. So that all goes out into our bloodstream because we get leaky gut and causes inflammation. It causes your body to start attacking you. Okay. That's where all disease comes from. Your body is attacking you. Or your immune system is attacking organs, or organs are just producing hormones out of whack. And all of this goes back to that inflammation. What is inflammation? Think of it this way. Have you ever seen copper that's become verdigris over the years because of the oxidation from its exposure to the elements, to the rain and the air and everything, and what that does to it? Or pipes that are rusted? That is what inflammation is doing inside of your body. So the next time you're tempted to have something like a candy bar or even a nice big salad, especially if it's got anything like croutons on it, or a sandwich with bread, pepperoni rolls, very popular in the area where I live. Think about the fact that that is literally rusting your pipes. And ask yourself if that's really what you want to do. Because see, that's my mindset. My ex-husband used to complain because when I was paleo, I would say all of this is poison. It's all poison. I would look at it and I would literally see it as poison. And I would say that. And he'd like, will you stop saying that? Because he wasn't on board yet. When he got on board, all of a sudden he saw everything as poison. But he got on board because he had a heart condition that nothing else was fixing. And the meds they put him on took away his energy. They were making him dizzy. Now, he was a professional handyman. He was climbing ladders and things, and he was getting dizzy because of the meds. And if he wasn't on the meds, because of the atrial fibrillation, making his heart really race fast. So either way, he was having issues doing what he did for a living. He's the one who found the carnivore diet, which was started by cardiologists, and discovered there were people who were healing the very same cardiac okay, I'm going to try to remember. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is what he had. And it's considered genetic and totally incurable. And there were people who were curing it with the carnivore diet. I have seen instances of people reporting their MS as cured and having their doctors say, oh, well, we must have misdiagnosed you. And multiple sclerosis, you don't misdiagnose that. But the medical profession, like they can't accept that just changing your diet and lifestyle and removing the inflammation from your body can cure all of these things. Now, not necessarily type 1 diabetes. A type 1 diabetic may always need to have some insulin, but I have heard of cases of type 1 diabetics being able to go off of the insulin. I do know that most diabetics can reduce their insulin and change the type and only need like the long-acting and not need all the short-acting insulins. Now, I'm not a medical doctor, but I listen to medical doctors, real medical doctors like Ken D. Berry, MD, Anthony Chaffee, MD, Sean Baker, MD. All of these men are MDs. Ken Berry is a family practitioner, still in practice. I forget what kind of MD Anthony Chaffee is. Sean Baker, I'm pretty sure, was an ER doctor. These guys know what they're talking about. And Ken Berry's experience is a lived experience because he was becoming diabetic and obese and heading down that road. And that woke him up and made him start doing research, because he was doing everything that is recommended by the American Diabetes Association. He's got a video about it on his channel, where he talks about this, that, he didn't believe his patients were doing everything that he was recommending because they were still obese, they were, still sick, etc. And then as he was getting older, he was starting to develop all of this too. And he was doing all of that. And it was like, hey, well, wait a minute, then this isn't working. And very few doctors ever question it. If you look, a lot of doctors, my experience anyway, I've seen a lot of doctors that are obese and unhealthy, premature aging. They're taking the same drugs they're giving you. They're taking statins. They're taking other, and they don't question this because they're so brainwashed from medical school that was taught by Big Pharma. Do you think that might be a conflict of interest there? I do. I find that a huge conflict of interest, that Big Pharma is who owns and teaches in the medical schools. And that insurance companies own hospitals. I find this to be a huge, huge conflict of interest in this country, here in the United States. I don't think it should be allowed. Because what is their primary objective? It's not to get you well, is it? Because then they don't make money. Their primary objective is to make money, and that means making you sick and keeping you there. The dietetic, I won't go to a dietitian, dietetic industry is actually all very much in bed with Big Pharma and Big Food. That all came out of the Seventh-day Adventists, by the way. All these recommendations for grains and vegetables all came out of the Seventh-day Adventists. And you may say, but wait a minute, aren't they one of the longest-lived peoples in the world? Yes, they are. But it's because they themselves don't eat all of the sugars and processed foods. But they make them. Kellogg's was founded by one of the members of the Seventh-day Adventists. Cereals, yeah. High grain, high fructose corn syrup, corn grains in there, yeah. So, but that's not what they eat. Mediterranean diet. Yeah, go over to the Mediterranean and eat the Mediterranean diet there. You're going to be way healthier. Why? Because their food is fresher, it's processed differently or manufactured differently than it is here in the United States, where we are a heavy manufacturing and industrial nation. Their stuff is actually coming from like small local growers and farms. So it's a whole different dynamic. People with celiac disease and Crohn's disease move over to Europe and be fine, or be stationed there for the military for a few years or whatever. And they can eat all the breads and everything just fine. Why? Because theirs are not harvested with Roundup. You want to know another cause for all of the inflammation in today's foods? Roundup. A lot of people don't realize this, but now what they do is before they harvest the grains, they spray them with Roundup so that everything dies at the same time, and you don't have some that's still growing and some that's dead and making an uneven or not maximizing the harvest. To maximize the harvest, this is what they do. So right before they harvest it, they spray it all with Roundup, they kill it off, and now that Roundup is freshly embedded into those grains that are now being baked into your bread and your cereal. Inflammation, right there. Ever since the introduction of Roundup for crops, we have had a rise in Crohn's and celiac disease in this country, and that's why. It is a known gut disruptor. They know this. But it's considered generally, grass, generally recognized as safe for human consumption. Because here's the other thing that people don't realize about the big food industry in this country. The FDA does not test foods. They rely on, say, Kellogg's to test their foods, provide the results that say, oh yeah, this is healthy and safe for you. What? When I learned that, that blew my mind. It's like, how do you do that? How do you allow them to test? Because if a test result doesn't fit the parameter they want, they just cut out the data that throws it off and make the data match what they want it to say, and then they present that to the FDA and they get approved. The food industry here needs to change. In Europe, it's a whole different industry, and they do not import very much from here in America. We import foods from there. They are safe. They don't import ours because they do not consider our food safe, not even our meat anymore. It used to be a big global industry for us, and now it's not. And that's because of, I hope I don't butcher this, okay, because I didn't look it up before doing this video. Ractopamine. I'll put it down below in the description or pin a comment, one or the other. But I'm pretty sure I got that right. That we feed our pork and beef. And that is to supposedly produce a more tender meat. It does not actually, interesting side note. And supposedly it's safe for us. And I mean, it's not horribly dangerous in the amounts that you're going to get it from your meat. It's going to be higher in pork than it is in beef, and that is because of that 4-chambered fermenting stomach thing that, that the ruminants have. That ruminant stomach will process most of that out of there. It'll go into the liver, though. But pork, that's a monogastric. So everything they eat goes into the meat. So you're going to have higher levels there, but it's still apparently not actually a dangerous level. But Europe, the UK, Russia, that all those nations, basically the rest of the world, has said, yeah, you know what? We're just not going to risk that. Because we're not sure what the long-term results are of that. So it's a whole different mindset over there. It really is. So if you're in Europe or any other part of the world besides the United States and Canada, you're pretty safe. For those of us here, you have to be your own food detective and advocate, and you really need to get out there and educate yourself. YouTube is full of videos with this information from people who really, really sit there and spend hours researching through papers and studies and journals and fact sheets and everything. My research is I watch them. All right. And I'll list some of my favorites down in the description box because there are some really, really good channels out there. Max German is a biology student out of New Zealand. And he's really good. Whoops. Sorry about that. I don't even know where that is. Oh, in my pocket. Anyway, it's my phone. So I'm going to silence that, although I'm almost done. But anyway, I watch them, and that's how I research. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, I don't filter my videos. I don't edit my videos. They're raw. This is me, okay? This is not scripted. It's not edited. I don't even do thumbnails. This is purely me, purely raw footage. Because if I had to do all that other stuff, I just wouldn't make videos. I have no desire to learn how to do that. I'm not putting the time into doing all of that. I don't want to look like everybody else. So this is authentically me in every single video showing up. That's how I am in every aspect of my life. Anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, that you have learned something. Do I feel everybody needs to be on the lion or carnivore diet? Not necessarily. Maybe paleo works well for you. I think if I hadn't gone off the wagon with paleo and done a full year of really stupid that really destroyed my health, that I would still be paleo. Maybe. I don't know. But I think slowly eliminating foods to see how you feel as you eliminate each one, consciously working your way down to paleo. Then if you're still not feeling optimal there, if you're still having health issues, gut issues especially, pain issues, you still have autoimmune diseases or any other disease, go to keto, work your way down, eliminate foods at a time, because you won't know how you're reacting to a food until you eliminate that food. The ultimate elimination is where I'm at, is lion diet. And this is where I feel best. And I'm honestly not planning on changing that. I don't feel good when I eat other things. And I know what those other things do to my body, so why would I? Just saying. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Much love, much light, many, many blessings. Peace out. See you in the next one.